What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Night Owl channel. Welcome to another top 10 video. We're going to be counting down the top 10 most disliked or hated characters in the Dynasty Warriors series. Now, I collected some data from Reddit and YouTube to see which characters popped up the most. Everybody on this list was mentioned at least a handful of times, and I can definitely see why they're not liked by most people. Before we jump into the top 10, we always got to start off with a couple of honorable mentions, and this time we got a father-son duo with the likes of Liu Bei and Liu Shan. So Liu Bei and Liu Shan were on a couple of people's list, and I can definitely understand the dislike for the characters, Liu Shan being an incompetent ruler, and that I think a lot of the fan base and potentially historians will look down upon. I would say Shu, out of all the three kingdoms, is probably disliked the most. Liu Bei being the leader and the pioneer of benevolence and emotions and feelings that a lot of people can't really get behind with his faction, brings him a lot of disdain as well, and that's why he's an honorable mention for me. The top 10 were definitely brought up a lot more than these two, but that does not take away from the fact that a lot of people do not like these characters. And I'm not saying that everybody hates the characters overall or that they're bad characters in the games, but the characters on the list just have a general dislike about them, and perhaps they should be changed or more grounded, and I've done tons of other videos around that nature. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the top 10 now. Let me know what you guys think about my list down below. Alright, coming in at number 10, starting off our list, we have another incompetent leader, in a sense, with Mr. Yuan Shao. So I think the reason that his hate is on here is because of the way that they changed him from Dynasty Warriors 5 into the next generation at the time, and he became this pretentious, over flamboyant, just theatrical, cartoonish type of character. Nobody can really relate to that, or nobody wants to see that, right? Can he have pieces of it? Can they make it work? Absolutely. We don't need that in the character. Just make him a little bit more grounded. Pretty sure he was much more respected in the earlier games, and that's why he's here at number 10, because of the way they changed him. Alright, next up, coming at number 9, this is also a personal character that I don't particularly like as well. We have Mr. Han Dong. So Han Dong coming at number 9, it's got a similar feel to Yuan Shao. It's just a personality you don't really want to see or be around, and it's the whole needy, clingy, weepy, notice me. We don't need all that, man. Nobody likes people like that. Brings a disservice to the character of Han Dong. I mean, he can have pieces of it, but for the most part, he just has too much of it. Too much of this. Like, every line, every conversation, he's got to bring this up. And I think it's just a little bit overdone for him. I just think they should play into the way he looks, not make him this weepy crybaby, but make him a hardened veteran. He looks like a veteran. He looks like a guy that people can follow, but he's over there complaining about not getting enough screen time. So I think if they change that for Han Dong, it would be a blessing for him, and that's probably why he's here on my list and a lot of other people that I saw that responded to what I said. Alright, next up, coming at number 8, we have one of the most useless characters in the game. And again, it's not a shot at these characters, this is just me speaking honestly. We've got Bao Seniang. Bao Seniang doesn't really have a purpose in this game. She's just there to fill a spot for a female character in the game, and that's pretty much it. She's got a relationship with Guansuo, but other than that, what value does she bring to the Shu Kingdom or to people that play the game? Right? Her weapon style, okay, maybe it's a little different. The spinner was okay, right? But for the most part, what else does she do? She's on a lot of people's lists because of that, or at least that's why I surmise that she was on people's lists, because she just doesn't have any relevancy. She's a fictional character, and then on top of that, it's just that she has no depth in the game, and she doesn't feel like she belongs. And I think a lot of dislike for these characters is that they were made playable before actual other important figures in the history themselves. So, but as of right now, she's one of the most disliked characters because of that. Alright, and that's why she's here on my list at number 8. Now, next up coming in at number 7, probably one of the most fitting characters to be on this list. Rightfully so, we've got Dong Zhuo. So the reason that Dong Zhuo is here, it's a no-brainer. Originally, I didn't have him on here because it's like a given that he's a disliked character. You're not supposed to like him. Putting him at number 1, I didn't feel was right, because when you look through the comments or even people watching the video or the fan base itself, they don't talk about Dong Zhuo when in terms of characters they don't like, because that's already a given. Right, so I had to find a place for him on the list. I think 7 is a really good spot for him, but I think him playing the perfect villain archetype, and he fills that role really well, and I think he's a great choice here at number 7. I mean, there's no point really going into details with Dong Zhuo. It's pretty much a given, and yeah, let's go and move on to the next one. Alright, next up coming in at number 6, we have a group of individuals, and that is going to be the Guan siblings. Now, I'm going to exclude Guan Ping because I don't think I saw Guan Ping when people mentioned this group. Similar to Bao Sanyang, these 3 kids, 1, they toe between the line of fiction and reality, and then 2, they are made playable when, again, other characters like Jian Yang and Liao Hua and Wang Ping and Fei Yi and all these other different Shu characters could be made to actually make a really nice story. Not saying that they can't make these people important, it's just that they don't. They don't make them relevant in any way, and I can understand a lot of people's disdain for them because they don't have relevancy. They barely have any historical information, if they have any. It's doing a disservice to other actual people in history that provide easy content for them to make. Liao Hua, you can make so much around him. Wang Ping, Fei Yi, Cao Hong. I can understand why people don't like them. I can understand why they appeared on a plethora of lists. Hopefully, if they just developed them a little bit more, there's ways to do it, they could do it. But as of right now, we have 3 kids that are just there. Then they all say the same thing about being children of the God of War. I understand the dislike for them. That's why they're here at number 6. So yeah, they're a great choice for me before we hit the top 5. And let's go ahead and move on to the top 5. Alright, next up, moving into number 5. We got a lot of Shu characters on here today. Next up, we've got Zhang Fei. So I think the majority of people that dislike Zhang Fei is because of his historical background and making Zhao Ji a playable character. Didn't really help him at all, and he's got a good weapon style. His look is fine, I guess. I mean, people are going to be like, oh my god, look at the way he looks. I don't think his look really does anything, but I think it's mainly the point of him being the way he was in history. He was a brutal, barbarian, drunk, abusive. In history, he was not the best kind of person, right? And in the games, they kind of just paint him out to be what he is within the game. And that's where I think a lot of his dislike comes from. But I can see why they did that, because it's a game, and why would you want to show things of that nature? But I think with Zhang Fei, because of how much there's written about him, I think that's where it gets really tricky, and that's why a lot of people dislike him. In the game, Zhang Fei in the Dynasty Warriors games, I like him. I think he's a good balanced character in the games, but in history, and the reason that he's here starting off the top 5, and I think he's disliked by most people, is because of his history. Now, moving on to number 4. This was tough to decide, but I think this is a good spot for him. We have Jiang Wei. Probably easily could take one of the top 3 spots, but I want to put him at number 4 for my list, just because the top 3 were mentioned much more frequently than Jiang Wei. But when it came to, like, before I started asking people, Jiang Wei was the first person I thought about because of the benevolence, because of the almost a similar quality to Han Dong, right? We got the same thing. We got Han Dong over here complaining 24/7 about not having enough screen time, and then you got Jiang Wei over here 24/7, benevolence. We gotta go to war. Warmonger. Very similar. And that's why I think people don't like him. Actually, I probably know. Yeah, I know for sure people don't like him because of that. Because the developers took Jung Wei out of Dynasty Warriors 6, put him in Benevolence Boot Camp, and brought him back in Dynasty Warriors 7. He had a new haircut, new look, and a new shtick. And that was benevolence. So Jung Wei obviously should be on the list here somewhere. Number 4 I think is a great choice for him. I think the top 3, they were just mentioned way more than Jung Wei. And for me personally, I think Jung Wei is not a bad character per se, but just like Han Dong, I think they just need to tone it down for him a little bit. But even then, I mean, there are people like that, so passionate, you know, gung-ho about their objective. They don't care about anything, and they start to become blind to how much damage they're actually causing. And that's who Jung Wei is. He's your typical tragic character. I think there's an equal amount of dislike for Jung Wei in history and in the games as well. Maybe the games are just a little bit more because people really don't like the benevolence thing, which I get. But Jung Wei is going to be number 4 for me, right before we hit the top 3. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. Let's go ahead and move on to number 3. Alright, next up coming in at number 3. So many Shu characters on this list. Jesus. We have Wei Yan. So Wei Yan appeared on the list a lot more than I thought he would. People just don't like, I think, both in history and in the game a little bit as well. I know there's a lot of people that don't like the way he talks, and I think people don't really agree with how he handled things in history. Kind of rebellious, a little arrogant, thought he knew was best, doing things on his own merit instead of listening, which led to the call of him being tracked down and killed. And from what I saw from most of the responses, Wei Yan was in a majority of people's lists. I would say more than Jung Wei, and that's why he's here at number 3. And it's understandable. I mean, they took a really accomplished person in history and they made him into that in the game. And I honestly, I think his speech pattern is getting worse. Like in Dynasty Warriors 9, I'm pretty sure he was halfway saying words, halfway like grunting or like, you know, that kind of stuff, instead of, you know, using actual words. I think Wei Yan's a pretty self-explanatory character for why people don't like him, and hopefully they end up revamping him, making him a little bit better. But I know it's been 20 years of the same Wei Yan, so I don't think it's going to happen, but we can always dream. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Alright, next up coming in number 2, we have Shu Chu. Now, I don't think people dislike Shu Chu in history. I think the historical Shu Chu everybody's cool with, but I think in games, the way they made him makes people dislike him. First of all, you have the club. Nobody likes the club. Nobody likes the club. If there's anybody watching that likes the club, and that's their favorite weapon, please let me know, because I would love to hear why the club is your favorite weapon, because it's just, I don't know, it's probably the most disliked weapon in the game too. Anyway, he's got the club. On top of that, they make this guy so dumb for no reason. His nickname in history was the Tiger's Fool or whatever it may be, and they just decide to make him so dumb for some, I don't know why. I don't know. I guess they decided to make him big and jolly without brain cells, apparently. He's a very interesting character. His shtick, similar to Jung Wei and Han Dong, gets old really fast. He's just hungry and he can't eat without, or he can't fight without eating food, and you know, it's all he thinks about is food. You know, even when he gets serious, it's kind of like you can't take him serious. His voice, the way they decided to make his voice is very, they just do everything they can in their power to play into this guy is not very smart, and people don't like that. People watch that and reject that because it's like, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Not much else to say about Shu Chu. I think I've said everything I need to say. Definitely one of the most disliked characters because of the way they made him, but they can make him so much better. There are games out there that do him so much justice, but Dynasty Warriors says, nah, he's gonna be the big dumb oaf. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to number 1. Alright, next up coming in at number 1, we have Xiao Qiao. Now, when Xiao Qiao was mentioned, sometimes she was mentioned with her sister, like people would say like the Qiao sisters. But I saw a lot of Xiao Qiao herself, just her being pinpointed. Her being here at number 1 seems to be almost unanimous. I think there's, again, if there's somebody in there that really likes Xiao Qiao, let me know down below. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way she looks, except maybe make her a little older. And her personality is just, it's like Yuan Shao. It's too much. Too much, man. Very kiddie and childlike, and then of course that puts a bad light on Zhou Yu, and it's just, we don't want that. we don't need her acting like she's 5 years old, 6 years old. Yeah, there are people out there that are like that, sure, but Xiao Qiao has no serious moments ever. Even in her ending in Dynasty Warriors 5, she still has like a personality of a child, right? Dynasty Warriors 9, I think they did all right with her. Her ending was Her ending was alright. I'll give that to him. It wasn't that bad. Still childlike though, because Zhou Yu's still petting her on the head while he like consoles her. Like, why are you doing that? But Xiao Qiao, number one, I think I saw her the most, especially when I first posted it. Xiao Qiao was like blasted coming out. When I originally was making the list and everything like that, she was at like number 5. But really, people do not like Xiao Qiao. I think it's a unanimous thing. Maybe I think people can like her for the fan, but even then, you have the other sister. You have the better sister, Da Qiao. People are gonna play Da Qiao instead of Xiao Qiao. So it's like, what else do you have to like about her besides the way she looks? So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for the video, guys. This was from what I collected and things that I kind of thought of on my own. So from what I found, this is kind of where everybody was. It's from what the responses were, from what people were seeing and saying, things of that nature. This is how the list for me, this is how it came out, and I think every character on this list is disliked for a good reason. And I'm not saying that these characters are necessarily bad. When it comes to in-game characters, because this is a video game, right? It's a video game, and we play it because we all enjoy the games, and everybody watching, I'm assuming you guys watch this because you guys enjoy the game too, and that's what I build the channel for, so we can all come together as a nice fan base. But I think if the game focuses more on making the game not realistic but just relatable with these characters that aren't well developed or just not liked or just overshadowed in a way, it would give the fan base a bigger opportunity to kind of round out their preferences. Hopefully they revamp some of these characters, make them a little bit better. I already made the revamp video, so if you guys haven't seen that, check it out. A lot of characters need to be revamped, characters need to be made, story needs to be developed a little bit more. They can make a really good RPG game if they choose to. It's up to them. They develop it. I don't. But anyway, I'm rambling. That's it for the video, guys. These are the top 10 characters that I found were most disliked from the posts I put out, and then of course just being on YouTube and part of the fan base for so long, you're reading the comments and people's opinions on different characters and things of that nature. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know down below. And if you did enjoy, definitely appreciate you guys hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more Dynasty Warriors content. If you guys have any ideas for top 10 videos or content in general for Dynasty Warriors, let me know down below. Got a lot coming from the channel, and I appreciate everybody who's been watching. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next